everybody. Today's episode for the Everything Saxophone podcast is brought to you by Gigsalad, the easiest way for saxophone players to book more gigs. Whether you play jazz, classical, smooth jazz, church music, Gigsalad connects you with event planners across the US and Canada looking to hire live music for weddings, parties, corporate events, anything, you name it. You'll get leads that match your availability, helps you to stand out on Google, and your gig money is guaranteed every time. Now, I use Gigsalad. I've been using it for years now. I really love the service, and I'm so happy that they are sponsoring this episode. What you can do is create your free profile at gigsalad.com and tell them that the Everything Saxophone podcast sent you. Hey, Donna Schwartz here from the Everything Saxophone podcast. Today, my special guest is from all the way from across the pond in the UK. It's Harben Kay. And Harben has been in touch with me for a number of years, and it's taken this long to actually get Harben on the podcast. So welcome to the Everything Saxophone podcast.
Hey, thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Cool. Awesome. So you've had a number of albums out since we've been kind of in email contact, and you've got a new album coming out October, I think I wrote October 3rd. It's called The World I Live In. I do want to talk about that, but I want people to get to know you. So I want to go right from the beginning. I want to know, when did you get started in music? And it may not have been on saxophone, but when did you get started in music?
So my dad plays piano a little bit. I always grew up with a piano in the house and like watching him play. So he started me off when I was really little, maybe 5 years old. And then I think at some point we realized that it would be beneficial to get a teacher who wasn't my parent, basically. So then we got a piano teacher. And then I had lessons all the way through school on piano. I really loved it. And then at my primary school, it was just string instruments that were offered through music lessons. So then I picked up the violin when I was about 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that for a bit, and I did some of the grades, the ABRSM grades. I think I got to about grade 5 or something. I think I did it a bit. Violin's really hard, and I don't think I was that good at it. But then when I was 11, I heard it was actually Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty, that really famous saxophone bit. And I thought, that's amazing. I want to play that. So then I sort of begged my parents for ages, because I think they were a bit like, you already play 2 instruments, so a third one might be too much. But then I think it just became clear that I was really serious about it. So that was when I was about 11.
That's cool. I'm curious. So piano, violin, were you taught to read first, or like was it Suzuki? Like, what was the deal with that?
Very much reading. Yeah.
Reading.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And so I know with a lot of, students that I've had who've had a piano background, I mean, it's helped immensely in terms of their musicianship and also taking up a saxophone. But the funny thing, and I'm curious about this for you too, you're playing all these concert pitch instruments, right? So the piano, violin, and then the saxophone, if you take up alto, you've got that, that E flat saxophone, you've got that transposition to deal with. I'm wondering if that was an issue for you. I know for some of my students it was. They play a C on the piano, and why isn't the C on the saxophone sounding the same way? So did you have an issue with that when that started to happen?
Oh yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of hard to remember, but I don't think so. I don't have perfect pitch or anything like that. Yeah, and because I was having classical lessons on all these instruments, so it was very much
cool.
Reading what was on the page most of the time. Although my first saxophone teacher, a guy called Jim Morris in Perth, where I'm from in Scotland, he was really into like blues and jazz. So he sort of got me started improvising a little bit. I was really shy, so I didn't really, it's kind of funny thinking back now, but like I didn't really want to do it. So I was kind of like, it's kind of funny thinking back to that, but I got over that eventually.
Okay, so were you like, when did you start improvising? Was it like right away at 11 or a couple years later or?
Maybe I did a little bit then, but I think that kind of came a bit later. Yeah, and I joined the Fife Youth Jazz Orchestra, which has been mentioned here before because I was listening to Jamie Anderson's your chat with Jamie,
Yeah.
who also did the same youth orchestra, and amazingly, it's still being run by the same guy, Richard Michael.
Oh, how funny. Okay, so
Yeah,
so hold on. Is Jamie's I think older than you, right?
he's older than me. Yeah, so we didn't really cross paths until I did the like the FIJO summer school, and Jamie like came back as a tutor on
Oh,
that, I think. So I first met him in that context.
how funny. What a small
Yeah,
world. Oh, that's so
I
cool.
know.
That's so cool. And the funny thing is the same guy is running it. Okay, cool. All right. So, all right.
Yeah, they're celebrating their 50th year,
Oh,
FIJO, this year. Yeah, and he started it and he's still running it. He's amazing. He's totally. So yeah, I mean he really helped me fall in love with jazz and with improvising because he's very much a mistakes are cool, just go for it, and he's so enthusiastic and he just absolutely loves it. So that enthusiasm rubs off on students really quickly. So yeah.
got it. Okay. Now that also explains why Jamie is so enthusiastic too.
Yeah. Yeah.
His videos. Now I really get it. And it's from another source. That's awesome. And I'm glad, okay, so I'm glad that you had that experience because I was going to ask you, like, what you said you were shy, but like, what made you afraid to improvise? I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I guess it was just the kind of like diving into the unknown a little bit and like I guess I suppose if you're doing it right, if you feel like you don't really know what you're doing, maybe. Or like you don't know what's going to happen next if you're really improvising. Um so I guess that feeling was so uncomfortable that it really took a while for me to get used to that and finally be okay with it. And then actually finally come to love that feeling. Uh, yeah.
How do you think that that youth jazz orchestra, how did that affect you in terms of, I guess, your career path? Not just playing wise, but also you compose as well. So, like, if you didn't have that experience, I'm wondering if you would have taken the same path playing or done something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that that band in particular really made me fall in love with the music, and it was really gradual. Like it just got to a point where I like couldn't really imagine doing anything else. So I think in that sense, it did have a really big impact on my path. And then another really great thing about that orchestra was there was we formed a collective of some of the older musicians in the ensemble, and I got a chance to like lead the that band. Um, so that maybe I've not really thought about this before, but yeah, that maybe gave me the bug for like band leading and being
Interesting.
in charge.
Okay, interesting because
Yeah.
again, you're a band leader too, so we're gonna get into that. When did
Hmm.
you, okay, so this is throughout I forget what you guys call it across the pond, but like we have, junior high, middle school, high school. I don't know if you call it university or whatever, but how long did you play in this jazz orchestra?
Um, Maybe age 14, maybe 15 to 18.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sort of age.
Okay, 15 to 18, and then you got the bug, and then you got the bug in terms of jazz, in terms of also then you're saying band leading as well, because then you started to lead some of the older kids and stuff. When did
Hmm.
you What was your next step? So you went to music school?
Yeah, that's right. I went to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then from that point, did you were you into did that get you into like composing? Like what happened at that point? Who were your biggest mentors at the Guildhall School?
Um, yeah, I had a few different saxophone teachers. Actually, one of the biggest one of the greatest mentors that I had there was actually my classical saxophone teacher, Christian Forshaw.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had him. He was my teacher throughout my time there, and a little bit beyond, because I stayed on as they called it a artist fellow. So I kind of like hung around a bit for another 2 years once I'd finished my undergrad, which was great. And that just meant that I like ran the weekly jam in the student union, and I also got to have some lessons and stuff. So yeah, it was great doing that. But yeah, I mean, he just like he taught me so much about sound. Basically, that was the main thing. Like, yeah, just playing the saxophone really well.
Do you remember, was there one, whether it's exercise or concept or tip that you got from Christian that you felt like really changed things for you that you could share with us?
Yes. Yeah, I talk about this with my students all the time. I guess it's like the idea that these three things need to be working together. So the embouchure, the oral cavity, and the support. And yeah, I guess his thing is like if those three things are working together, then you should be able to play any note anywhere on the instrument, kind of thing. And there are some exercises to like test that, like, and kind of like having like a fixed thing that works throughout the range of the instrument, which I think that applies a bit more to alto than tenor, because I think on tenor things move around a little bit, but like that as a goal and as an ideal, yeah, that's been really helpful. And like he spoke a lot about like tongue position, yeah, and just like having space in the oral cavity for resonance.
Interesting. Okay. I want to get some clarification on that. And you said like
Yeah.
some fixed things. So when you say space in the oral cavity, like, are you thinking of a particular syllable that, or multiple syllables when you're playing? Like, I'm not, if you can clarify what you mean in terms of resonance and also in terms of, you said like space and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, so on the clarinet, it's more of like an E shape. So I've been told. And then I guess, so on the saxophone, we want to like bring the front of the tongue down. So it's more of an ah.
Got it.
More of
Okay.
an ah sound. Yeah.
Okay. And then like space in the oral cavity. So that's so like for you guys, thinking like the ah syllable gives you that space in the oral cavity. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And also like he spoke about, like when you yawn, the soft palate goes up, and like
Yeah.
things here come down, and like when you blow hot air as well, there's things in your throat that kind of come down a bit.
Do you find, you were mentioning before that you felt that there was kind of a difference between alto and tenor and probably even Barry. Do you feel like you're approaching tenor a little bit differently?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah. I also play a con tenor and I play a Selmer alto. So I think also they just feel like, I think alto and tenor feel really different anyway, but those horns feel quite different on top of that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if it's like, I know I have Mark sixes and I know I play a Trevor James tenor. I love it. It's great. It's awesome. And I think it's definitely a bigger sound for that. I think it's a bigger bore size by a little bit compared to the Mark
Mm.
six. And that could be a part of it. And it could be the same thing with a con as well. But do you
Yeah.
consider yourself more of an alto or a tenor player now?
More tenor. Yeah. So on all my albums I've released, I'm playing tenor. So yeah, I started on alto but then switched to tenor halfway through Guildhall.
Oh, okay, in
Um,
college. Okay.
yeah, in college. Yeah,
Interesting.
I got really into Sonny Rollins,
Ah, that'll
and
do it.
I like yeah, exactly. I like started transcribing him a bit on alto, but he plays quite low, quite a lot. So it's like this isn't going to work. I need to get myself a tenor.
Cool, cool. And so would you say in terms of, we had like your mentor from school, but in terms of your mentors or, your heroes in terms of playing, like I'm gonna say Sonny Rollins is probably one of them. Who else do you feel are your heroes when it comes to playing?
Sorry, my dog's barking. I don't know if you
That's
can
okay.
hear that. Yeah, so I spent a little bit of time in New York just before the pandemic.
Oh,
Like I was there for about a year and a half. But the reason I mention that is because went to the original plan was to go and study at Manhattan School,
oh,
but it was just too expensive in the end. So I instead got an artist visa and just went
okay.
um, without studying formally, but it gave me the chance to study with some of my heroes, Dayna Stephens, Chris Cheek, and Melissa Aldana.
Oh,
So
wow.
so I had some lessons with those tenor players, and yeah, it was amazing.
Okay. Any anything stand out or any tips that you could share with the listeners in terms of, let's take Melissa Aldana. I haven't had her in the podcast. So, like, was there anything particular that stood out or, tips that she shared with you or concepts that she shared with you that, like, really helped shape you?
Um, yeah, she took me through some of her practice routine, which is very rigorous.
What is it?
She kind of, well, she's kind of like, oh yeah, I do long tones for an hour, and then I'll do like patterns for an hour, and then transcribe for an hour, and then practice tunes that I need to practice for an hour. It's like, oh wow,
Okay. Okay. So that's
she's a big practicer. She's well into it. Yeah, yeah. So even yeah, so she took me through some of her some of the exercises that she does, like voice leading. I think Mark Turner is maybe into this as well, of like yeah, voice leading shapes on the saxophone.
got it.
Um, yeah.
And it was, and in terms of like, from the other people that you studied with as well, I mean, you maybe took a few lessons here and there, but, from like Dana Stevens and some of the others, anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, I asked Dana about playing fast, like playing fast tempos. And something that he said was to play quietly, which is interesting because I think like I guess when the tempo's fast, the temptation is to, or what can happen is like you tense up and then you're like trying to play at this tempo, so maybe you're like forcing it a bit and playing louder than you might. Um, yeah, so that was really useful, and it's just like relax, play a bit more quietly, and that'll help you through it.
That's interesting. Okay, I've not heard that before, so that's pretty cool that you shared that. So, all right, so you were in New York for about a year and a half and taking lessons for from a couple of people. What
Hmm.
did you want to stay, or you just felt like, I'm going to go back home?
Yeah, so the original plan had been to I had this visa for 3 years, so I had another 2 years on the visa. So yeah, I the original plan was to stay for at least that amount of time and see how it went. But yeah, I mean the pandemic, everyone kind of all my European friends just left,
Okay, so the
and
pandemic
I
hit
kind
in
of
the middle. Got it. Oh, wow. Yeah.
yeah.
Ah,
So I was gonna like wait it out, but then yeah, everyone. I did a week of lockdown in New York, and all my friends had left. All my like yeah European and Australian friends were gone, and I was like, maybe I should go home for a bit, you know. Um, so yeah, so I went back to Perth for a bit, and then yeah, and then I never went back to New York. Sadly, I still need to go,
okay. Okay, maybe
but
maybe have
things changed.
yeah, an album tour or something like that. And
That would be amazing.
Yeah. So when you went back, I know you guys were on lockdown for a bit, but I don't know how long your lockdowns were or how restricted you were in terms of the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah, I guess the first one was pretty restrictive, and I was also for that first one, I think it was like 5 months. That feels really long, doesn't it? But yeah, something like that. But I was like staying in the countryside with my parents, so I wasn't really going anywhere.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that one for me was especially restrictive just because of where I was.
Yeah.
Um,
What were you
yeah.
okay, so I'm curious about this, like during the pandemic, musically speaking, aside from practicing, were there any projects that you did that, like online stuff or recording or anything like that? Or were you just pretty much, kind of chilling out in the countryside?
Yeah, maybe a bit both. There were some cool projects. I think yeah, it's really amazing what people did and how proactive they were during that time. So yeah, I did some remote recordings and stuff.
Got
Um,
it. And
yeah,
okay, and was it like recordings of your own music or were you just recording for other people or
for other people, and then I did one with a bass player called Kaisa Mainsavu. She's Finnish, but she lives in New York. Yeah, and we'd played together a bit
cool.
in New York. And yeah, so we recorded one of my tracks for like a radio thing,
Oh, cool.
BBC
Oh,
thing. Yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
so that was nice. Yeah.
Okay, then let me ask you this then. We talked about like moving from alto to tenor, when you got involved with jazz. When did you start getting involved with composing?
Mm. So the Guildhall course at that time, there wasn't a heavy focus on composition. I think we maybe wrote like a couple of things for a class, but there wasn't loads really. But I really wanted to write something for my final recital. So that's kind of yeah, I guess that's what kicked that off. And I think actually also Glasgow Jazz Festival asked me if I would write something.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they commissioned me to write a tune um, to play um, at the festival. Yeah, so that was a big help as well. It was kind of like yeah, there's nothing like a deadline to like make you make you come up with something, you know. Um,
For sure, right? And
yeah.
was it your group? So your group was playing at the jazz festival, or were you commissioned to write something for somebody else?
Oh yeah, so this was for me to play with my band.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so then I played that piece in the final recital and then we recorded that tune on my first album. So this was with the trio.
Cool. Let's talk about your first album, right? So it was a trio. And like how would you describe if I don't know if you can, but how would you describe your music like at that point?
Oh wow. Um yeah, it's hard describing music with words, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh well, on that album there were a couple of I played Stardust um solo actually, and I did a Charlie Parker solo transcription called Kim, and I'd kind of made my own arrangement of it and played it. I think I played it duo with my drummer.
Oh,
But then my original compositions. I think there's some of them are swing, uh, definitely influenced by the jazz tradition, with some more contemporary influences as well, I guess.
okay. And you know what I want to ask you too. So you said that you played a duo with the drummer, right? So,
Mhm.
people I think are going to want to ask the question, how can you do that? There's no chords. Like, how do you approach that? What are you thinking? So all those questions. Like when you're playing a duo with a drummer, obviously there's going to be a rhythmic emphasis and you're the one that's going to be holding down the chords. But what like what suggestions would you have for people who may want to pursue something like that? How did you work on music in that way?
Yeah. I guess, I mean, the kind of the same goes for trio as well, where like if you're playing standards or tunes with like a really clear form, then you just have to know the form so well, and you have to be hearing that in your head so clearly, um, and like yeah, just like absolutely be taking care of the form and not relying on anyone else for it, because you can't if there's yeah if there's no harmony instrument spelling it out for you. Yeah, so that's I guess yeah, and then take away the bass and you're just with the drums. You just need to be hearing the form so clearly in your head.
And when you're playing with the drummer, and it is just you and the drummer, you doing the head of the tune, and then when you're soloing, you have to be more. It's not more harmonically aware. I don't mean it that way, but you have to emphasize the harmony more so, than if you were soloing, you would have people to rely on to hit the certain parts of the chords, but you have to be hitting those parts of the chords, I think even more so than if you were soloing with a larger group, right? I think your thinking changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, otherwise it might just sound a little bit ambiguous and it's like what is this tune, if you're not sort of spelling it out a bit more clearly. There's a great example of that. I guess where I got the idea from is Sonny Rollins playing Sorry with a Fringe on Top
Okay. And then Sonny Rollins.
with Philly Joe Jones. Yeah.
Okay. Did you transcribe that solo to see what he was doing? And
Yeah, I did.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I played that in my final as well. Yeah. Yeah, so my final was trio, duo, solo when I did Stardust. Duo, but with the other musician, and then trio. And that
Okay.
was my set. It's very satisfying symmetry.
That's really cool. Now, okay, so that was was that your album you're saying, or was that your final?
Oh, this was the final recital thing. But I think yeah, that time definitely had an influence on how I arranged my album. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a very interesting way to approach your final exam, your final performance. When you think about that, was that ever recorded?
I think it was. I don't know what's happened to it.
Ah,
Yeah, I probably have it somewhere. Yeah, I don't know.
you should seriously check that out and just,
Yeah,
see, compare yourself from now to back then, but also if there's some gems there, just
maybe.
saying.
I don't know. Yeah,
I
it'd be
mean,
interesting to hear it. Yeah.
yeah, because when you sent over your bio and stuff, essentially you self-manage yourself, right? So I'm just thinking, you have more say in what you're able to do. So let's talk
Mhm.
about that route for just a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're managing yourself, right? Which is
Hmm.
that's a lot of work. Can you talk about that? Like what's involved with that?
Um, yeah, it is a lot of work. Yeah. So for my first album, I had some support because I won this award, so they put a grant towards the album, which helped a lot. And I also put that album out on Ubuntu, um, which sadly doesn't exist anymore. Um, and then the second album I self-released just because I wanted to learn a bit more about how to do it. Um, yeah, but yeah, it's so much. But then for that album, I hired Jazz Fuel to do my PR,
Okay, got it.
which
Okay.
was great. Yeah, they were great. But then for this album that's about to come out, I've done it all myself, which I don't know if I'd recommend, but it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about this for a second. So, that's right. I forgot about Ubuntu. I remember that because yeah, they would reach out to me for artists and stuff. So I didn't realize they're
Mm-hmm.
no longer there. So then you use Fuel for the PR portion, and then for this last
Yeah.
album, so you were doing all the PR, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
were doing the release, right? The release and I guess also, I mean, again, many musicians handle their own tours for the most part, but also you're handling, any performances and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot of work. But let's talk about this for a second, because there are some people that listen to the podcast that, definitely put out their own albums, and, it's good for them to know like what is involved. You know what I'm saying? And maybe
Mm.
to help them make the decision whether they want to do the same thing as you, or be like, no, I think I'll hire somebody to do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think it was really helpful doing it with Jazz Fuel first, because then I could like sort of see a little bit how they did it. Um, I think one thing with hiring PR is that they have all the contacts ready, and they have relationships with reviewers and magazines and all the people um, that you want to reach out to. So they just have that all in place already. But I guess part of the reason I wanted to do this myself this time is so that, yeah, if I learn how to do it and build up these contacts, then that puts me in a better place for the future. So even though it's a crazy amount of work now, it should hopefully be easier for the next one. So that's the idea. But yeah, so I like Jazz Fuel wrote me a really nice press release. So I just kind of copied the layout of that. So that was really helpful. And I've been sending that around. And yeah, I guess just like talking to other musicians and like asking for their contacts, because I think some of these reviewers are a bit mysterious and difficult to get in touch with. So it's kind of, if you can reach them, not all of them, but yeah, if you can reach them via another musician, then that's really helpful. And like, yeah, musicians are helping each other out, and that's
I didn't realize that though, with the reviewers, that they're hard to, I guess, reach and stuff. And that's going to be important though, because the more reviews that you get, right, it's testimonials, it's PR, right? You're putting it out there,
mm,
right?
hmm
So,
yeah.
okay, okay. And so you were using some of your peers, getting information from them, but also seeing what Jazz Fuel did for you. I'm curious as to, when you worked with Jazz Fuel, if you were able to maintain some of those contacts, or were you starting from scratch with the third album in terms of that aspect?
Yeah, so I guess now that I've released two albums, there are some contacts who I know a bit better, especially in this country, in the UK and in Scotland, especially because I like see them in person as well. Some of these people, um, yeah. So I'm building up my own list of contacts, I guess.
And I'm curious,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking to myself, okay, you have the new album, which we're going to talk about in a second, but is it a future thought to either continue to self manage yourself and do the PR yourself, or are you thinking of training other people to do this?
I am. I'm working with an assistant, so yeah. So if there's anything that I need help with, I kind of ask them to help me out with it. They're mostly doing my social media, which is great. So that's kind of that's that's just something. Obviously, I still need to like create, record videos and whatever else. But they've made like the schedule for me, and it's like, yeah, that just takes away a little bit of stress in that area. Um, yeah, but I mean, I'd love to have the thing that I really want is a booking agent. That would really help me. Yeah,
Okay, because that's
that would be
that's something
awesome.
that, yeah, that takes a lot of time and connections with that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I do have a few connections just from being around for a while and playing in different places. Um, uh, but yeah, mostly in the UK. But I'd love to start bringing my band to Europe, and doing that a bit. I think I just need to, yeah, I need to take that step. But a booking agent would be amazing for that, especially as well.
Cool. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go back to your latest album, right? And so this one's this one's entitled "The World I Live In." What was the inspiration for your latest album?
Yeah, so the title comes from a poem called "The World I Live In" by Mary Oliver.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah, I just really love that poem, and I really wanted to have that poem in the liner notes, but I'm not allowed to use her work
Right.
because it's a commercial product. Yeah, so then I wrote my own poem, like sort of inspired by Mary Oliver's words. Yeah, so that's, and I say those words on the album actually.
How did that, so that must have been new for you. Like, how did that feel doing that?
Yeah, it was cool. It's quite confronting, like hearing your own voice, but I suppose you're used to that by doing the
Yeah, but I
podcast.
don't always listen to it. So, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it was very different. Because obviously I'm used to like recording myself playing saxophone, but then yeah, it's like how do I what's the best way to speak? I don't know. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. But it's something that I'd started doing it on gigs um a little bit. So then I thought, oh, I should include this in the album because it feels like a nice thing to do. And then I kind of bookended the album. Um, there's a poem at the beginning and at the end.
That's cool. And in all honesty too, that also sets you apart a little bit because not many people do that. Number one, I've interviewed some people
Mm.
that have definitely written pieces based on poetry, and David Bixler is one of them that comes to mind, immediately because I just interviewed him. But having the spoken word on the album, but also having the spoken word done by yourself, because the other thing too, I mean, we joked about it a minute ago, but people think, oh, I'll just read it. It's easy. It's not. You have to read
Mm.
it in a certain way, just like you're performing on your instrument. You have to read it in such a way that's going to resonate, with the audience
Mm.
and also bring out the intention of the poem the way you see it and the way it inspired you to write the album. So I'm wondering, again, not to stress you out or anything like that, but I'm wondering, when you did that, if all these things came to mind, if that's what you were intentionally like thinking about, how am I going to, although I know you said like on gigs, you would also start to do this on gigs, which is great. It's great practice for doing that. And
Mm.
it probably helped to hone
Hmm.
that skill. But I'm just thinking when you did it for the recording's a whole different can of worms when it comes to that and doing gigs in terms of, wanting everything to be just right, So did you find yourself, thinking about these things?
Yeah, I guess one of the main things I was thinking about actually was that the words fit over like an intro section, but I have to pace it so that I guess this is a bit easier in the studio, but on gigs I have to pace it so I just finish the poem and then I pick up my saxophone and start playing. So
Oh,
like just timing that. So I'm like listening to the music and being like, okay, I need to pace my words, and then leave enough time to like pick up my saxophone and start playing.
yeah, that's actually a little tricky when you think about it because depending on how long that poem is and also, yeah, how long your introduction is, that that's tricky. I'm just thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes on gigs we might play it like a little bit faster or a
Oh,
little bit slower. So
uh-oh.
it's like, yeah, just trying to figure it out. Thankfully, the tune that it's on, it's quite uh, it's like sort of in sections. There are like four sections, so I can kind of pace it through that. Um, yeah, but yeah, it's a totally different skill speaking to playing.
It
Yeah.
is. And the thing though, when you think about it, it can also obviously make you a better musician because you're thinking about pacing. You're thinking almost like a singer, right? You're thinking about the
Yeah.
words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, it makes you really appreciate singers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
what they do is incredible.
Well, let's talk about let's talk about the poem and the song that this applies to and what was it about the poem that moved you?
guess, yeah, I think the original poem, it's one of those lovely poems where it can be interpreted in different ways depending on who's reading it, I think.
Okay.
Maybe a lot of poems are like that, but to me it was about um identity. I'm trying to remember what the original poem was now, but and about like imagining a world or imagining the most beautiful version of the world for yourself, if
Oh,
that
that's
makes
really
sense.
cool. That is really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'd like to do right now? I want to for us to actually listen to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out the audio that you sent me, and if that's okay with you, let's listen to a little
Yeah.
bit of it, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Okay,
Okay, sure.
cool. All right, hold on. All right, so we're going to listen to a little bit of "The World I Live In" by Harben Kay.
I will not be bound by the ropes of convention. I am too expansive to be tied down. Who needs an anchor when you have wings? Let the winds of uncertainty blow you astray to the most beautiful place within.
And now we break apart from the piano, right? So you and the piano were playing the
Mm.
melody together, right? And then giving that kind of tonal quality to it, and then starting to break off from that a little bit. And talk to me about like the feel for this, right? The feel that you wanted, the groove that you wanted, the meter that this is in. What made you like think that way when you were composing this?
Um, so I think this one started with the bass line. Um, I think because I started writing for trio. First of all, I often write like a bass line and a sax line, um, and
Okay.
then sort of fill it out from there. So this one started with that bass ostinato. Um, yeah, and it's kind of it's like the same thing. Uh, what is it? Down in thirds or something. Um, and it's so when it gets to the end of the form, it just goes right back, and it's just like very cyclical. It just keeps going. Um, and so for that reason, that's kind of why it felt like this one. And also with the melody, it's like I just recorded myself improvising.
Okay.
So that's where that came from.
Okay.
Which isn't that's not usually how I would write, but yeah, but that's how this one came to be. And it's such a short form as well. It didn't feel quite right for it to be like a head solo's head situations, although it is sometimes that on gigs. But for this recording, and I had a producer actually for the first time, which was so helpful, really amazing. A piano player called Fergus McCready,
Okay.
who's also FIJO alumni.
Oh,
Just talk
okay.
about the Fife Youth Jazz Orchestra. We were in that together. Yeah, so it was amazing having his input. But yeah, so we decided that we'd have so me and Pete on piano playing the melody, and then the second time we play it again, but we start improvising a little bit. So we're like weaving in and out of the melody together, and then the third time the same, but more improvising. So like sometimes there are moments where we like both catch the melody together, but then other times when we're improvising. Um, yeah. So in a way, I think it's quite a it like builds, but it's not it's contained in a way as well. It's just sort of
Yeah.
chugging along.
Yeah, it's in okay. It's like got this sparse like kind of element to it, but it's
Mm.
interesting, like the melody's very interesting because it's melodic in a different way. You know, you've got some interesting like melodic directions going on with this. You know, it's not a very fast tempo per se, but it's just there's this freedom about it. I feel this freedom about this.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, and I'm just thinking, you know, like your interpretation of that beautiful world. And, you know, like you said, like you started off kind of, you normally start with bass and sax and, you know, writing from there. But here you kind of also were just kind of like improvising and you captured yourself doing that. And I'm wondering
Mm.
what was going on in your mind when you were thinking about improvising over this tune and like the poem of this tune as opposed to just chord changes. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, kind of. I guess yeah, the words that I wrote came later. They came for the album because I couldn't use Mary Oliver's words. But yeah, there was Mary Oliver's words were always connected to it because of the title as well.
Mm, okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know how conscious that was, or if it was just coming from more of a subconscious.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So connected with like the original poem,
Mm.
and yeah, I just felt this kind of like freedom. Let's listen to a little bit more of this. Let's listen to a little bit more. Let's go here. Sometimes you were catching each other, and sometimes doing something different. You know, I was
Mm.
just thinking about that out loud. This is cool. Let me keep going. But yeah, that's right. That's really cool how you guys are doing this like this kind of interplay, and like in this kind of situation where you both of you are kind of soloing at the same time, so it's really
Hmm.
keeping the form in mind too, I would think, right? You know, again, as if you're playing with a drummer, because you know, yes, the pianos they're putting chords down, but it's also soloing at the same time. So it's that dance of not stepping on each other, but also complementing.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you,
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
how do you handle that? You know, you're probably used to it. You probably have done that for a while, but like someone who's, you know, like, wow, this is really cool. I mean, I'm wondering how they're, you know, able to do this without like, you know, it sounding like Dixieland in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, testament to my great band, my great piano player, Pete Johnston. Um, we've played together a lot. We play as a duo quite regularly as well.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's awesome.
So
So
it's
he
probably
makes it
knowing,
easy.
yeah, you know, I was
Yeah.
like the episode with David Bixler, we were talking about like, you know, excuse me, with Woody Witt, just knowing the instrumentalists so well. And I'm wondering when you wrote the songs for this album, were you thinking of your bandmates in mind?
Um, yeah, I think a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, because I knew who was gonna play this music. Um, yeah, so they were in mind. I think some people really write to. I'm really lucky where like I feel like this rhythm section can play anything. They're so good. Um, so in some ways I can kind of do whatever I want and they'll sound great.
Okay.
Uh, uh, so I guess because I know that some people it's like, oh yeah, I really wrote this with this person in mind and like their strengths and their vibe. Um, and I think I did that to an extent, but I also chose these musicians because I know they'd suit my music. So maybe it's more of a two-way thing.
Cool. This was cool, and I didn't say before, like the speaking in the beginning was great. Like I thought that went really well. The accent is great too, because that works great with this as well. You know, I think that really definitely shines on this. And so I'm assuming this will be like the first single that's released, or are you putting out the entire album?
Yeah, so that single's out,
Got it.
and the fourth track, Virago, that single's out as well. And then Laylo's coming out, the second track. That's coming out on the 5th of September.
Got it. Okay. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
then I think so with my last album I only put the singles on streaming platforms.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to do that with this one as well. Um yeah.
Okay. And I can understand that too, because this is, again, you're talking about, expense and,
Mhm.
having physical copies of albums in some ways financially doesn't make sense, and if you print up some cards with like either QR codes or, something where people can like, buy each single or buy the album, in that way, I think that that would be a really, financially prudent thing to do. Unless you're
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, unless you're on a totally like long tour where you may want to have other merchandise too. Like for example, the artwork on this is pretty cool. It's pretty intricate, right? And I could see
Yeah.
t-shirts coming out of that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do t-shirts actually because I did those for my last release and they went down well. Just a short run. Um not too many. But yeah, I'm doing CDs. I've got my CD.
Yeah, there it is.
That comes up. Oh, it's getting blurred.
I was getting blurred. Well, we got it over here, sort of. It's something
Oh
similar
yeah, you've
right
kind of
now.
got it there, yeah. And I'm doing vinyl for the first time, which has
Oh,
been a learning curve as well, because that has sort of different requirements in terms of the artwork and the mastering and all that stuff as well. So yeah, that's been a bit of a learning curve. But it's really cool having the vinyl too. And it'll be interesting to see yeah, just how it sells. And yeah, I used to get that quite a lot where people would be like, "Oh, do you have any vinyl? I don't have a CD player." Kind
wow.
of thing. So it feels like, vinyl's coming back
Yeah,
and
it's been
people
for
are
a
really
few
into it.
years. It's kind of crazy when, well, at least when I think about it. I remember, when there was just vinyl and then cassettes. And I actually saw something on the news the other day where they're saying cassettes are even making a comeback. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, alrighty then, but
Yeah.
well, let's do this. Let's listen to Virago since that's out right now as well. Let's get a little
Okay,
taste
cool.
of this. This is track 4. Just starting with like sparse little things like da 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 da, right? All these little sparse little things that open kind of sound. And before we go on, like with the solo section, so what inspired this song?
This tune is totally inspired by one of Zoe Ramon's compositions. She's a great piano player in London. Uh yeah, she's been an inspiration for a long time because I saw her play with Courtney Pine. She plays in his band. Yeah, so I saw her play when I was a teenager. And yeah, when I was getting into jazz, it sort of quickly became clear that there weren't loads of women
Mm,
playing jazz. So I think just like for a young person to see her on stage, it was like, oh wow, that's amazing. And like my mum really made a point of like going and chatting to her after the gig. And yeah, she's so nice. So yeah, that felt like a really important moment. And obviously seeing Courtney Pine as well, like he's awesome. Yeah, so that was an important moment for me. And then kind of, yeah, that coming full circle of like I played in her for her last album tour last year, I think.
Cool.
For her album The Color of Sound. Um yeah. Yeah, so we played a bit now, and yeah, she's great and I love her music. She's such a great composer. So this tune I kind of wrote for her. Virago means female warrior.
Okay.
And she's another person who's she's self-released her whole career, and she's just been doing it herself, but yeah, she's really cool.
That's cool. That's cool. And this one definitely, this one has more of um, like a rock kind of groove to it, with how the rhythm section is playing. That's pretty cool. That's definitely different. I like that. That's really cool. Let's listen a little bit more over here. What's really cool about this, like I hear you're coming up with these little motifs and you're developing them. Motifs developing, motifs developing. And there's certain phrases that, you know, are like you. And the funny thing, you said before, like Sonny Rollins was one of your heroes. And I'm thinking to myself, like what is Sonny Rollins known for? Well, I mean, amazing sound, of course, but developing motifs. And
Totally.
starting with like really short little phrases, right? And then going off from there. And like I can hear that in here, I could definitely hear that kind of that short phrase development. Would you agree that, that's a pretty accurate assessment?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
What would you, yeah, if you remember, like, your thought process, like soloing on this one?
Um yeah, I guess it's kind of it's such an intense track that moment you can kind of see it in it's just like a block the sound. Um
Yeah.
yeah, and I guess like the beginning of that solo is like a moment for it to breathe a little bit because we've all just been playing this like unison thing.
Right.
Um yeah, and yeah, I guess if you start um in that place, then it just gives you somewhere to go, rather than if you're going all guns blazing, then it's like and then you might not have as far that you can take it.
I like
So I guess that's part of the idea.
I like what you said too, giving it room to breathe. You're coming off these unison lines, and then, just kind of starting off, okay, here I am, and I'm going to start with these little phrases, then do a little bit more. Okay, little phrase, do a little bit more, and then a couple longer lines, and yeah, I mean, I can definitely hear that, and that totally makes sense. This is really cool. Let's listen to a little bit more. Again, this is Virago. This is track 4 on the album that will be out in very early October. And the whole lead in, like transition leading into the next soloist too. So that's really cool. I like this track. I like you use the word intense. I like that. I think that's a really great
Mm.
way of describing this. Definitely intense.
Yeah, warrior vibes.
Yeah, yeah. But also, thinking about, right, the world I live in and thinking about there's times when it's going to be pretty intense,
Mm.
it's not going to be as tranquil and peaceful,
Yeah, for sure.
tapping into that. Really cool. Let's listen to one more track here. All right. So you said Lay Low is going to be coming out.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do this one. This is track 2. This is fun. This is really cool. Is this like are you playing, like, how do I want to word this? Are you guys both freestyling right here? You're improvising from the beginning, or is this like the melody and the melodies in such a way that the piano's playing off of the sax?
Yeah, so we're just improvising. Yeah. I think the only thing I said was that we should stay around a concert A.
Okay.
Flat. A flat. Sorry.
For those who have perfect pitch. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we keep returning to that note.
Okay. That's
And we're
cool.
sort of playing around that.
Da- da-
Yeah, that's basically the idea. So there's not really a head. We're just improvising.
That's cool. And just, yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you said that. And, I could feel that absolutely staying around that note. And what is the title? What's the significance of the title? I'm almost thinking like I'm just laying low right now, but no, it's not that.
Yeah, I guess yeah, it comes from there's a jazz gig in Glasgow hosted at the Rum Shack, and that the night is called Lalo.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the first place that we played this tune. So yeah, I just thought it was a good title for the tune as well.
It's cool. All right, let's listen to a little bit more of this. In that section, so like you have like a predefined section of like the improv and then you go to that section. Is that how that's working with this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we go through it's like an 8 bar sequence, and I think we go through it like 4 times, and then we go into this new section which is written out. There's a bass line, uh, and there's a melody line.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's so interesting going from the top of this. Like I'm thinking to myself, this could be background music to like a movie where,
Mm.
someone's like walking, in a city. They're walking around a street in like a very busy city, a lot of traffic, and they're just walking through. I don't know. That's the kind of picture that I'm getting it in my head.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. This is really cool. Let's do a little bit more, and then I'll ask you some other questions. This is cool. I hear someone singing in the background. Oh no, it wasn't. Maybe it's a dog. Okay.
Oh, do you know what? No, so that was the dog just there, but Pete does that. Pete does sing while he plays, so maybe you can hear a bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let me back that up just a pinch over here. Yeah. Cool. This is really cool. I could hear him singing in the background. It's all cool. And this is good. And you know what I'm really curious about. I'm going to ask you this question in a second. We'll talk about where to find this and get this. As you see, I'm on SoundCloud right now, but there's going to be other ways to get this. I want to know about your practicing routine. All right. So, like,
Mm.
what do you do? What's your practicing routine to be able to, like, that was swinging really hard. I really like that. And what do you do to get so flexible and like your sound is really good? So, what's your practice routine?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think my routine at the moment is going through a bit of an overhaul. I think I want to change how I'm approaching things. But
Hmm.
I guess like I worked on a lot of like sound things with my classical teacher. So there's some of those exercises that I still practice to this day. Um, and yeah, like overtones and like bending notes down to get that control and to find like the sort of resonant sweet spot uh, in that bend. Yeah, long tones. Love the long tones. um, yeah, and then I guess when it comes to like practicing my own music and preparing for this recording, or like upcoming gigs and stuff, it's kind of because I wrote it and it's my music. I'm like, right, well, I need to like know it really well, and I can't be messing this up because like that'd be so embarrassing because it's my music, you know? It's like I need to know this inside out. Um so yeah, I just like uh play the melodies until I can play them in my sleep kind of
Got it.
thing. Uh so I yeah, they're really prepared. And then yeah, I guess like just knowing the harmony and knowing the forms just like inside out as well. Yeah, it's kind of just all the basics. Yeah.
Okay, it is all the basics. And I'm just curious also with something like the song like Lay Low, right? You're improvising from
Mm,
the start. And so, but you're
mm,
hanging around concert A flat. So it's obviously not going to be the same thing every time, right? Because it's
mm,
improvised. So it's just a question for a song like that, just really understanding the form, hanging around concert A flat, B flat on the tenor, and then knowing how long you're hanging out on that. And then you have that middle section where you're together, right? And knowing
mm,
that,
mm.
and then going off from there, right? So that's like it's interesting the way that you compose that piece. It's actually pretty cool because there's no real head to that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, and it can be a little bit difficult to because like it's all just like it's like simmering, and it kind of it's sort of building gradually, but it's mostly simmering. So it's just like how do we like firstly set up that feeling but maintain it and build on it a little bit.
Okay, okay. I like that word. And I'm wondering when you're whether you're working you're working by yourself on your songs or let's say you guys may do a rehearsal or whatever, are you thinking about when you're improvising, are you thinking about I want to try to portray this feeling or this mood or is it something else that's going, that you're thinking about when you're improvising?
That's a good question. I think uh hmm, I think like tunes have a mood without maybe without me going, oh, this is the mood of this one. Maybe also because it's my music, so I know where it came from and I know what the mood is supposed to be. So maybe I'm not thinking so much about that. Maybe if I was playing someone else's music, I'd be like, okay, what's the mood of this? But I guess it's maybe because it's my own, it's maybe a bit more subconscious.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, because I'm just curious too. All right, yeah, it's your own music. You kind of know what you're looking for, but yeah, like let's say you're playing whether it's a standard or someone else's music, are you looking for a mood to portray when you're improvising? Or are you thinking about developing motifs? Like what are you thinking about?
yeah, I think the mood definitely comes into it actually now that I think about it because like I really like learning lyrics to standards if they have lyrics. And that really does give me an idea of how to approach it. Because like a lot of these songs are like love songs, or like they might be about something really sad, and then so it maybe wouldn't feel, or it would be a choice to like approach it in a certain way, you know, that didn't reflect what the lyrics were saying. So yeah, I think in that scenario especially, it's like there is a very clear meaning behind this song if there are words with it.
And that's a great tip too. You know, a lot of people do say like learn the lyrics, but sometimes people,
Mm.
forget about that. So I think that's a great tip as well. So now,
Mm.
where can people, first of all, there's some singles that are out already, but where can people find the album, find the singles?
Yeah, so I'm selling it on my website, harbenkay.com. And I'm also selling on Bandcamp.
Got it. And Bandcamp.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do you have, and I'll have these links in the show notes, everybody. I is the Bandcamp link on your website?
Um, no,
I'm
but
gonna
there's
get
a
that.
shop. So there's a shop on my website, and
Okay,
then the Bandcamp thing is separate. But
got it.
yeah,
Okay,
so either's good.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And yeah, I may want to get that separate Bandcamp link as well. I know the
Yeah.
cool thing about Bandcamp, they've run campaigns in the past about, like on Fridays, the artist gets all the money. I
Mm-hmm.
remember they've done that in the past. I don't know if they still do that, but Bandcamp is great for artists. It's great for, selling your albums, selling some merchandise, selling singles. Unlike Spotify, where it's not great,
Mm.
for jazz musicians unless you're getting a lot of streams. But Bandcamp is definitely a great resource for people for sure. But I'm curious,
Yes.
what are your future? So this album's coming out. What are your future projects?
Yeah, so the album's coming out. You mentioned Bandcamp Friday, and it is coming out on a Friday. And I
Mm.
think Bandcamp's Friday is usually the first Friday of the month.
Oh,
So I hope
great.
hopefully they're still doing that because it is the first Friday of the month that it's coming out on. Um, yeah. So next is I'm going on tour to promote the album. So we're touring around the UK in October.
Great. Okay, so it's going to be all
Yeah.
over the UK. And then
Yeah.
any other future projects that you have, or are you thinking about expanding the tour, like touring the UK maybe for a couple of months, and then maybe doing another tour like the beginning of next year to more of Europe? Like what are your future plans?
Yeah, so future plan is to do another tour in February. Just again looking at the UK. But I need to start emailing some people in Europe, I think. Yeah, and I actually so I kind of recorded like too many tracks for this album. So there's maybe three or four tracks that I'm going to release later on as an EP
Very
that didn't
cool.
make it onto the album, but they're going to be an EP. So that might coincide with the February tour, or I need to make a plan for that. So yeah, that's coming at
That's
some
cool.
point.
I was going to suggest that. And the other thing I was thinking about too, I was talking with one of the other podcast guests, and like recording the performances, and having I don't know if you've thought about having
Mm.
like a live EP, or a live album coming out.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice doing that. You don't get the red light syndrome, and you get all this energy from the audience. It's so fantastic. So it's a good idea.
Just planting some seeds there.
Yeah, thank you.
No, for sure. Because I think in some ways it's easier because, like you said, I like that, the red light syndrome. It's when you're in a
Mm.
studio, it's like you don't have that energy, from the audience, and it's like, okay, go, all right, do another take. Where it's live, it's like, let's just do it, and just be in the moment. It's just a little
Yeah,
different.
totally. Yeah, it feels amazing. I love, performing's just the best scenario. It's so great.
Cool, especially when you
Mm.
have a really good audience too. That's the important thing
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, definitely.
Well, listen, Harbin, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This was awesome. I think your music is great. I wish, you have a lot of success with it. I love the way you're playing. And you know what? Actually, I do have one more question. People are going to want to people are going to want to know your equipment. So what,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we got to do the equipment question, right? Because
Yes.
as you were playing, I'm thinking, wow, yeah, you sound really good. So you said that, I think a con tenor, was that it?
Yeah. 10M,
Okay.
1936, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. So no problems with intonation with that? I mean, that's something where you have to, I know the older horns can be a little trickier when it comes to intonation compared to the modern horns.
Yeah, true. I think the G's a bit sharp. I sometimes just put down some extra keys if I'm hanging out on a G for a bit. But yeah, I love the con. I had a con tenor before. Uh, yeah, so I wanted to stay with a con. So I just got a slightly later one with nicer key work.
Cool. And
Yeah.
what mouthpiece?
It's a Drake New York Jazz 7 star.
Cool. And what about your reeds?
Yes. The reeds are Dario Jazz Select filed 3M.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, because people are going to want to know. And like I said, you got a really nice sound, and it's just really full. And you know, I'm just thinking about that tune "Lay Low" and like with the interplay and the soft playing, and then the simmering kind of thing going on there. Yeah, that's a great word to describe that. That's really cool. Well, listen, again, I wish you so much success with this album and
Thank you.
with your tours. And hopefully we'll meet someday in person.
I know that would be awesome.
It'd be cool. Thank you so much
Yeah.
again.
Thank you. Thanks so much.